Hey everyone, happy Friday. Thank you guys all so much for tuning back in, and let's jump right into another recap here. So, this is how the Nasdaq looked on the day today. As you guys can see, right around here was when the market opened up at 6:30 in the morning, and we did have a push up to the top VWAP from around the bottom VWAP, but ultimately right after that at around 8:30 in the morning, we did ultimately start selling off on the day, and the Nasdaq has just continuously been making these lower lows and lower highs, right? So today I did trade paper money again. Here's why it says simulated trading on the top left. That's to show it's paper money. And on top of that, I did have another red day today. I was down $34, so definitely not much at all. It was very manageable. And here are all my filled orders for the day. So I really only took two main trades, and I ended up buying in increments, a good little amount, as you can see. And my first trade went south on TQs. I'll walk through that, or on SQ, sorry. I'm going to walk through that with you guys. And I bought a bunch of shares, ended up selling for a loss of $70. And then I ended up taking another trade on TQs once I saw direction start to change. And then I got rid of all the shares too. So let me go ahead and walk through with you guys. So basically, when the market was opening up, I saw that leading into the market open, right, during the pre-market hours, that the Nasdaq was starting to sell off, and on top of that, it was trending below the green SMA line here. Anytime it approached it, it was starting to act now as a resistance for it to make these lower highs and lower lows. So what I wanted to do when the market opened up was start trying to look for a SQ's play, right? Kind of like we ended up having here, but I thought we were gonna get that right out the gate when the market opened up, but unfortunately we didn't. And as you can see, my first trade was at 645. I bought in with like a tenth of my position that I plan to get in with $500. And so I bought in right around here, kind of when I saw the market, start downtrending again from getting rejected off this green SMA. And I did buy in numerous times, as you guys saw, and it kind of depended on whether it just started falling again. I'd buy in, and my position would be a little lower. Or when I saw it starting to pop up again near these top levels, I did start copying a little bit of more shares because I did think that we could still hold up this pattern right here of these lower highs and lower lows and basically get rejected around this area. So anytime the Nasdaq popped up here too, I did buy more, trying to get some shares in at a better price. And ultimately, this move didn't end up happening. Now it happened later. So where I decided to cut losses was when the Nasdaq basically made a higher low right here, right? It didn't continuously keep dropping after it approached this kind of general resistance area, right? It didn't keep dropping down here and make lower lows, but it held, and it had some nice and strong green candles. So definitely was a sign that it wanted to keep pushing up. And once I saw it break kind of this critical area right here, this area right here where previously got rejected off of, when I saw these candles start breaking above it, I saw that the direction no longer wanted to really hold anymore, right? Of trending below the middle VWAP here, this purplish line and the green line, and the bottom VWAP. So it no longer wanted to hold that pattern. It wanted to break out, and that's when I did my part in cutting my losses, which I'm very happy about, obviously, right? Because if I was in SQs and this thing kept shooting up and I never did cut my losses, it would have been a whole lot more unmanageable. It would have been a pretty decent sized loss, and I'm very happy at least I was able to cut my loss and avoid that. So I did write it up, and when I saw it kind of break out at this key area here, I decided to get into TQQQ, and that's basically where I made my other bit of money on the day. So at 7:35 in the morning was my first position on TQs, and as you guys can see from the timestamp right around here, 7:35 in the morning was right around here. So let me zoom in for you guys so you can see a little better, but it was right around here when it started to break out. I cut my losses on SQs because I saw how strong it still wanted to go, and I started loading up on shares of TQs. I also bought in increments, if you guys noticed. That's why there's a lot of different buying entries. So I did start loading up as it started to push up. I'd buy, and then when it did start pulling back, I also bought more, trying to bring down my position size and just get in at these better deal areas because even though these were little nice pullbacks, the overall direction is still uptrending, right? It still can be making these higher lows even with this pullback, and on top of that, the direction is now trending above the middle VWAP and top VWAP, right? And it seemed to kind of not validate that descending pattern anymore. It broke it. So I did feel comfortable thinking the direction was going to start moving up. So I bought more TQs, bought more, as it started to continuously uptrend. And I ended up cutting everything, obviously pretty early. I always do usually sell a little early, but as you can see, I sold everything at 8:07 in the morning, and that is right around up here near the top VWAP. I did get a pretty good fill, but it did still end up running from around where I sold up another like 30, 35 points. So didn't get the best fill, but still very happy with that trade. And the reason why I sold at the top view up here was because I'm just doing my part to make sure that I lock in the majority of my profits. As you guys can tell, I locked in 236 shares. That was like 90% of my position size, and then the other 10 after it ran a little. But I want to make sure to not get too greedy, and I want to lock in profits anytime there's a potential resistance, because as you guys can see, when the market was previously trading at this level right here, it ended up getting rejected, right? And it just did the same exact thing. It validated this kind of resistance area up here. And even though it did make a new high, ultimately it did get rejected and start falling. And as you can see, it was a nice play for SQs you could have made on the way down. So I did end up calling it after that because unfortunately I had to just be ready to go to work. So I couldn't unfortunately keep trading, but you could have always taken part in this. Once you saw the pattern get validated, just look at it in the bigger picture of the Nasdaq, and the 5-day 5-minute as it approached the top VWAP here, it made sense that it was only gonna do one of basically two things, right? As it approached it, it's either gonna near the top VWAP and get rejected like it previously has done before, or it's going to show strong signs that it wants to break this area of resistance. And if it does start forming multiple candles above the top VWAP, that's a great sign that it can start going, right? Because it's breaking the pattern. And here's a clear example of that. So right around this general area, this was on the 28th. So this was 2 days ago. So right around this general area, as the Nasdaq started to climb, right, as you can see, it broke above the middle VWAP, just like it did today too. As it started going to the top VWAP, it was either gonna get rejected near the top VWAP, like it has been doing right around here numerous times, and fall. Or as you can see, this one day it did start rallying because it had a lot of nice sized green bars leading into the top VWAP, right? Once it broke above the top VWAP a little, there was not like huge pullbacks. It was doing a pretty good job of holding, and multiple green candles started forming, and little by little, it kept making higher highs and just breaking this pattern of just anytime it approaches the top VWAP, just continuously selling off, right? It did that just like I showed you guys two times here today also. And yeah, so that's basically an indication if you look in the bigger time frame of where it can go. It ended up getting rejected here and falling, whereas other days if it approaches it and still looks strong, it's not really falling. That's a good sign that it can start rallying now, right? Because it wants to break that pattern of just being held back by that resistance area. Once it broke that key little area here, it started to go. So yeah, that's basically how you can look at the market and use the other bigger time frames to take smarter trades. And on top of that, also using the bigger time frames like the 5-day 5-minute, it really allows you to watch out for potential areas. Like, let's say you had an SQ's play, you were writing it down here, and maybe it wouldn't be the dumbest thing to load off the majority of your shares or your whole position, right? Because around these areas at the bottom VWAP, it has tended to bounce, right? Like it did here, it did a little here, it did here, right? And these bounces can be pretty significant. So that's why it's a good idea to look at the NASDAQ bigger picture to make sure there are any key areas to just look out for. Maybe it'd be a good idea to lock in your whole profit. So yeah, that's just it. Thank you guys all so much. It's been a fun recap. Happy Friday. I hope you all have an amazing weekend this upcoming weekend. And yeah, I'll see you guys all next week. Thank you all so much for watching and take care.